It all started when my husband began sending half of his salary to his sister. At first, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Why would he be sending such a substantial amount of money to his supposed sister? It didn't make any sense. But then, one day, everything came crashing down. There was a knock on our door, and when I opened it, I was met with a woman I had only seen in pictures. She looked at me and asked, "Where is my husband?" My heart skipped a beat and I felt a surge of confusion and panic. "Your husband? But I thought you were his sister." I stammered, barely able to form coherent sentences. "No, I'm his wife. We are married," she said, her voice firm and confident. My husband had lied to both of us, claiming that we were sisters to one another. But this woman standing at my doorstep was not just a sister. With a racing mind, I invited her in, trying to process everything that was happening. We sat down and she began to explain the truth. She was not his sister. She was his wife. They were married and he had been sending half of his salary to her all this time. My head was spinning and I felt like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could my husband have kept such a massive secret from me? As we talked, I realized that she had been kept in the dark as well. He had lied to both of us, playing a dangerous game of deceit. It was like a web of lies, and I had unknowingly been entangled in it. I couldn't help but feel betrayed and hurt. How could he have done this to me? I thought we had a strong and honest relationship, but it turned out that he had been living a double life. Oh man, let me tell you, Lisa and I were boiling with anger. We couldn't believe the guts of my two-timing husband. But we weren't about to let him off the hook that easy. Nuh-uh. We were gonna make him pay big time. So we got our heads together, creating the ultimate revenge plan. We weren't gonna expose him. We were gonna crush his reputation like a bug. He'd regret ever messing with us. First things first, we needed some solid evidence. We gathered every bit of info we could find, bank statements, texts, even those sneaky phone calls he thought we'd never know about. We had the goods to nail him, no doubt. Once I found that he is returning, unaware of us knowing the truth, he came back home, smiling. Lisa and I were so mad, ready to unleash all our fury on that cheating a-hole. When he walked in, trying to act all normal, I couldn't even look him in the eyes. I felt like my whole world had ended. And his "I love you" just made me want to puke. Seriously, how could he say that after all he had done? But then Lisa came out from the other room ready to pounce. She looked him dead in the eyes and asked, "Do you love me too?" Oh, snap! His face turned white as a ghost, and he was at a total loss for words. That's when we laid it all out on the table. We didn't hold back. Let me tell you, we confronted him about every lie, every betrayal. We made him squirm as we threw all that evidence in his face. Those sneaky texts, those secret phone calls, everything. At first, he tried to deny it, but we weren't having any of that nonsense. "We had the receipts, honey." He was like a deer caught in headlights, and there was no escape from the truth. We let him have it, holding nothing back. We told him how much he had hurt us, how he had shattered our trust and our hearts. It was harsh, but he deserved every bit of it. And you know what? He couldn't even look us in the eyes. He was so ashamed, so guilty. But you want to know the craziest part? He didn't even try to apologize. Nope, not a single "I'm sorry" came out of his mouth. He just sat there, unable to face the consequences of his actions. In the end, we didn't need his empty apologies anyway. He tried to worm his way, trying to look like a victim, but we shut that down real quick. We didn't need his lies or his fake love, but we didn't end it there. No, We're obviously going to get a divorce, but we want to go bigger, expose him completely, and make sure he rots in prison. Update 1. Lisa and I weren't going to let this cheater get away with breaking the law. We marched down to the cops, armed with all the evidence we had gathered, ready to take him down for good. The charges were serious: bigamy and fraud. First off, bigamy, juggling two spouses at the same time, was a big fat no-no in the eyes of the law. In court, the prosecution presented solid evidence of his double life. We showed marriage certificates, texts, and even testimonies from witnesses who knew about one of the marriages. It was crystal clear that he had intentionally lied and kept his existing marriage from Lisa when he married her. The judge didn't take this lightly, as you can imagine. He was facing some serious legal consequences. Next up was the charge of fraud. This one was related to the money he had been sending to Lisa, posing it as financial support for his supposed sister. Oh, but it was all one big lie. The money wasn't going to a sibling, it was going to his other wife. Talk about pulling off a major con. He had manipulated both of us, playing us like puppets in his twisted game of deception, and the court wasn't going to let him get away with it. When it came time for his defense, his lawyer tried to downplay the severity of his actions. They argued that he was remorseful and willing to make amends. But let's be real here. Actions speak louder than words. The evidence clearly showed the extent of his deceit, and the court wasn't swayed by empty apologies. After a thorough trial and examination of all the evidence, the verdict was in guilty on both charges. The judge handed down the punishment he deserved. For bigamy, he was ordered to pay a hefty fine. It was a financial blow that hit him hard. But that wasn't the end of it. The court also sentenced him to serve time behind bars for his fraudulent acts. The prison sentence was a wake-up call for him. He was stripped of his freedom and forced to face the consequences of his lies. As for Lisa and me, we finally had closure. Justice had been served, and we were ready to move on with our lives. We walked out of that courtroom with a sense of relief, knowing that he wouldn't be able to hurt anyone else with his lies. So, to all the cheaters out there, beware. You might think you can get away with your lies, but karma has a funny way of catching up to you. Update 2. Now here's where the fun part came in. We decided to take our revenge on the virtual streets. Yup, you guessed it, social media. We created proper posts and started spilling the tea about his shady ways. Boy, did people eat that drama up. Lisa and I kept it classy though. No mudslinging or name-calling, just the cold, hard facts. We wanted everyone to see him for the snake he was, and let me tell you, the internet did not disappoint. Our posts went viral in no time, and folks were sharing like crazy. His reputation? Oh, it was in the gutter, all right. I don't know if you remember this or not, or if you ever came across my situation, but I'll not name my country for privacy reasons. Just know that everyone in our area knew. After everything that went down with my husband's double life, I realized I was too focused on revenge. It took a toll on me emotionally, and I knew I needed help. So I decided to go to therapy. It wasn't easy, but I had to confront all the hurt I was feeling. In therapy, I opened up about the pain, anger, and confusion I had been holding in. Talking it out with my therapist was like a release, and I started to understand just how hurt I truly was. During this process, I discovered that Lisa was going through a similar struggle. We became good friends, supporting and uplifting each other as we saw through the healing process. Our shared experiences bonded us, and it was nice to have someone who truly understood what I was going through. Update 3. Things are being settled down for both Lisa and me. The legal battle resulted in a good deal of alimony, which has provided some financial stability and a sense of justice. Support from friends and family has been so important during this time. Sure, it's been a bit weird for our respective circles to accept our newfound friendship, but who cares? Lisa has become like a sister to me, and having her by my side has made all the difference. Going through such a traumatic experience can be incredibly lonely. Thank you for being so supportive in the comments, by the way. It means a great deal to me. NTA. Oh my God, you and Lisa are like total badasses. I can't even believe your husband's shady double life. It's so brave of you to confront him head on and seek justice. You go, girls. Finding support and friendship in each other is the coolest thing ever. It's like a real life girl power moment. Keep slaying and shining bright. You both deserve all the happiness and good vibes after dealing with such a major betrayal. Sending you virtual hugs and positive vibes. NTA, whoa, that story is legit wild. I can't believe your husband pulled off such a crazy scheme. You and Lisa are the ultimate heroes for exposing his double life and going to court for justice. It's super inspiring how you two found strength in each other and became friends through this tough time. Next story. As a New Year's resolution, my friends and I agreed to do more fun cardio stuff. Our area is pretty built up, so we go down to the local community oval, play 3 versus 3 soccer. We swapped from Wednesday afternoons to Thursday last week, and this was the first time we ran into the issue. We're running about as normal until a dozen or so kids and a few adults pile out of a local private school bus. The ovals are big, so we make sure we're only using a little corner. One of the coaches comes up to us and says, "I'll get you guys to finish up. We're just about to start our practice session." We ask if we can just use a corner, but he insists they need the whole oval. We're a bit confused, but clear out nonetheless. Maybe they can book the oval? Instead of going straight home, I duck to the shops for a drink. Walking back past, I'm annoyed to see them just doing ball drills and sprints and stuff that could easily be done in a quarter of the oval. I did some research and confirmed there is no way to book the ovals. They are shared community resources. Every day I drive past the private school and they have 3 immediately kept ovals privately fenced in. I keep thinking back to my public school that didn't even have an oval. And for sports festivals, we needed to walk over to the public fields and we would share with whoever was there. Thursday comes around as I drive home. I make note of the 3 completely empty fields at the school, 2 NRL and a cricket field, before I join my friends at the oval. We get about 20 minutes into our game before the bus rocks up again. As last time, the coach wanders over and tells us to pack it up so they can start practice. I ask them, since they're just doing drills, if we can share and that we will stay out of their way. "Sorry guys, no can do." I asked why they didn't use one of the school ovals. "Those are NRL and cricket ovals. We're an AFL team." I point out this is a public oval for everyone. At this point, the coaches all come over and start asking why we're being so difficult and uncooperative. They start saying we're being a-holes and getting in the way of kids enjoying sports. At this point, I put my foot down, saying we're going to stay. We were here first, and they're welcome to share with us. They get to practice, and there is more than enough space for us to coexist. But about 20 minutes later, a cop car parks up next to the oval, and 2 cops walk over to us. They ask what we're doing, and we explain it's 3 versus 3 soccer. They ask us to be mindful to share the oval before going over to talk with the coaches. As they are leaving, I ask them what it's all about, and they tell me they had a call from someone that we were disrupting the sports team. But as long as we aren't getting in their way, they can't see anything wrong. So we're pretty sure they called the cops on us because we wouldn't leave. I think it's complete crap that a private school can come in and just annex public facilities, but the coach's looks made me feel like I was being a dick. NTA. But my suggestion would be to report it to the council, a reference to AFL, Aussie in my mind. Let your local council, which pays for the upkeep of the public park, know that a local private school keeps trying to make you leave the park so they can have exclusive use of it. That they have called the police on you while you were using the park in a shared and neighborly way to try to force you to leave. I hate the private school entitlement to public services. My school was private and didn't have its own fields, but acted as the NRL field, and netball courts in the park opposite the school belonged to them. They'd get mad if other local schools used the park because it was disruptive to our school. But hosting other schools from way out of the area for footy was perfectly fine. NTA at all. You just learned a valuable life lesson. Stand up for yourself. You should be commended for doing your homework, remaining calm, and being an all-around badass. Good on you, and all the best of luck to you. Next story. I'm 28, female, and my brother, 33, male, and I have a difficult relationship, all because I started dating his best friend, 34, male, 8 years ago. For him, that was an unforgivable betrayal, and I know that this day he still thinks the same. That's why our relationship is almost non-existent now. I apologize thousands of times for falling in love with his best friend and for not having been able to fall in love with someone else, but he never forgave me. We only see each other at family parties, and that's it. He didn't attend our wedding and didn't want to meet our children. 6 female, 4 female, 2 female. When they were born either, so you can imagine how much he hates me. A few days ago, we celebrated our mom's, 62 female, birthday at my house because hers was being renovated. Well, my mom begged him to come because she's sick and she doesn't know if she'll be able to celebrate her birthday with us next year, and he accepted her invitation and went to my house. Of course, since he arrived, he made it clear that he was only there for our mom and that he was not interested in playing happy family with me or my kids. I kept quiet because I wanted my mom to have a good day and ignored him. After cutting the cake, my mom opened her gifts, and one of those gifts was an album of the most important moments of all her children and grandchildren, something that for some reason she asked for a few months ago. She was so happy with the album that she started looking at all the photos and showing them to the guests while remembering when she took each photo of us, her children. In that album, there were photos of my brother with my husband at their high school graduation. My husband was included because he and my brother have been friends since they were babies, so he's like another son to her. And when my brother saw them, he said something like, "What a nice picture. No one would suspect that you would screw my little sister a few years later." My sister, 31, female, told him to shut up, that he was being rude, but he didn't stop and kept looking at the photos to say things that nobody wanted to hear. So I got tired and asked him to leave my house. I told him that he was being rude and inconsiderate with our mother, and I didn't want him there. And of course, he stormed off, and now he thinks that the villain of the movie is me. And the worst thing is that one of our sisters, 36, female, thinks the same thing because she thinks that I should have kept quiet since it's my fault that he's like that. AITA? Edit. I don't know if my brother is gay, but the truth is I suspected it many times when I saw how affectionate he was with my husband. Like, my husband had a few girlfriends before me, and my brother hated all of them. But I thought it was just jealousy because he didn't spend as much time with him. But if I think about it, it does look weird. He's in his 30s and he only had a girlfriend when he was 12 or 13. He was always possessive of my husband and overly affectionate, which my husband always hated. So maybe it's true. Maybe that's why he hates me and my kids, and maybe that's why I unconsciously apologized to him. Because deep down, I knew he was in love with him, too. I don't know. Edit 2. I spoke to my husband, and he says that nothing ever happened between them, that they were just friends, that he is straight, and that my brother always knew it, and that he never did or said anything to make him think otherwise. So I don't know what's wrong with him. I just know that I feel enormous guilt. If he's in love with him, I'll never be able to feel at peace again. NTA, either your brother is one of the prettiest, most infantile people I've ever heard of, or he was in love with your husband and he's just pretending it's about you. I'm petty as hell, and I can't imagine holding something against someone for so long and hurting my terminally ill mother just to win petty points. What an absolute flog your brother is. I don't understand. You would think that if two people you love very much decided to be together, you would be happy for them. Is it possible your brother had, closet, romantic feelings for your husband, his BFF? Did your husband suddenly stop hanging out with him completely after he started dating you, so your brother feels like you stole his best friend? Is he single and just a super miserable person? You're NTA at all. You did nothing wrong falling in love with his best friend. You both should be treated with respect regardless of his thoughts on your relationship. Next story. I, 19, female, recently got a call from my friend, Jess, 23, female, begging me to run to the shop for some baby formula and other food essentials because she was so tired. I agreed. I got her some stuff and dropped it off and offered to nurse the baby so she could have a shower and cook some pasta. She was super happy and took up my offer. This was at 4:15 and her boyfriend usually gets back from work at 5:30. Jess has her shower and food, and when it hits 5 p.m., I ask if she's going to be okay for half an hour until her boyfriend gets home. She tells me she kicked him out because he went to visit his mother while he had the baby and he hadn't asked her first. I should be clear that I don't have kids and never intend to, and so I cannot pretend to know what goes through a new parent's head. But I found that whole thing so ridiculous. I said that's so stupid of her because he clearly loves her and the baby, and he didn't do it to be a dick. Jess got mad and said, I don't get it. We sat in silence for a few moments before she asked me if I could help her the next day with the baby. I said no. She got really upset and asked why. I told her she needs to beg her boyfriend to come back since the baby is both their responsibility, and whilst I'll help out every now and then, I'm not going to become a substitute parent when the baby clearly has two loving parents. She told me to leave, but then texted me a few times later that day asking what days I was free the next week so she could get work done. I told her I love her, but she needs to get her act together and sort it out with her boyfriend. She then went to the group chat and began asking our other friends for help and accidentally mentioned what I had said to her. Everyone thinks I'm a huge a-hole, and I can't help but wonder if I am. I want to be clear. Jess' only qualms are that we went to visit his parents when he had the baby and that he didn't ask her for permission first because he was dead asleep. She admitted he's a great father who works hard to provide for the family. He's not a disinterested bum or not. AITA? NTA, she sounds like a control freak, and the father has the same rights as a parent as the mother. She chose to be an a-hole. Let her suffer the consequences of her actions until she comes to her senses. NTA, even if the reasons for her kicking her boyfriend out had been excellent, you'd still be under no obligation to help her. Your helping her out is voluntary. Whatever mutual friend feels very strongly that you're obligated to help, the same logic applies to them. They should step up to the plate and help. Maybe among all of you, you could develop a schedule for helping your friend, but it shouldn't fall on you. Her relationship with her boyfriend should be a completely separate thing. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.